Welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. This is a show where we aim to educate, inspire and entertain through real life stories and interviews from people in the Scottish property community.
As always, thanks for listening and give us a follow on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember to join us at our monthly networking events on the first Wednesday of every month. Tickets are available on our website. So without further ado, we'll just cut straight into this week's podcast. Okay, welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. Christopher Dalziel.
Thank you,
Did
good
I
to
say
be
that
here.
right?
Yeah,
Not Dalziel.
No, I
like
didn't.
Some of your English friends call you.
Aye, they've butchered them quite a lot, so it's good to be back up with the pronounce it.
You've popped up my Instagram account, DL Ventures.
Aye, it is an adventure though, but Ideal Ventures.
We're going to get into your adventure and we're going to talk about that. But you're good on social media. I love your videos. You come across really genuine, which is one of the reasons why we brought you in here today. So you're actually not far. You've been brought up not far from here, but you're actually living in Newcastle now, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
So we drive up the road for you. So
aye, it's good to get up. My missus always cracks up when I come up, but it's obviously worth it to go and meet new people and do stuff off the back of it. Do you know what I mean? But before, when I used to go up, you'd be up and you'd end up partying with your mates and stuff. So I think that's how she didn't like it before.
Brilliant. So let's just straight off. Let's tell the listeners, right, what it is exactly you do and what you've managed to achieve, over the last couple of years.
Yep, so basically I was working in sales, so I was doing recruitment like back in the day up here, was working like Yellow Pages, recruitment, all your sales, business to business jobs, and I actually don't speak to my mum and dad, and they kind of left us with a property in Airdrie, so kind of started off with that. I'd got money from the sale of that. It was something like 30 grand or something like that when I got my cost covered.
Back what year would you say? Is that?
I was 25, so 2016 I would say, 2016, 2017.
What age are you now?
I'm 31, so I'm 32 in November, but I look a lot older, so tough paper round.
Not sitting next to us, you don't.
So I had the money sitting there. I knew like I'd end up blowing it if I didn't do something sensible. My uncle was an ex-accountant. He retired 9 years early for his properties. That always stuck with me. So I had a phone call with him about going back to college, because I had a couple of buy-to-lets at the time as well, and the interest rates, as I mentioned before we go on, like I was cash flowing like 500 a month on some of them. So I was like, let's go and give this a bash. Went back to college, did my accounting, got a master's in accounting, finance and strategic investments, and then obviously during the pandemic I'd moved down there in 2021, so I got a job at PwC, but when I actually moved down there and I started, I realised that it wasn't really for me. I obviously came from quite a heavy sales background, going to kind of very corporate and
what was it you found that you just didn't like that role, because that must be, I can't imagine it. I used to have a job obviously where I was employed, but I certainly can't imagine going back to it, being employed and having a boss.
Aye.
I often look at, I've got friends, family who are in the corporate world, like my brother-in-law works for Adidas and stuff like that, and it looks high pressure, intense, do you know what I mean? And always loads of people try to place the blame on you and all the rest of it. So how was it? What was it you didn't like in that world?
Aye, basically that. So I've come in a bit older as well, and it's all 22, 23-year-old grads. It's all the big four mentality, so like you're lucky to be here, so many folk applied, and it's just the pressure they put on you. So they expect you to do unpaid overtime every day, and they expect you during the busy season, you weren't allowed a day off between January and the end of March. You were expected to knock in kind of 50 plus hours a week, and your contract was 37.5. But I think the thing I didn't like the most was you didn't learn anything useful. You were basically a glorified admin assistant at times. You'd do the rubbish tasks, they'd be just getting you to do the donkey work that they don't want to do, and because you're just in the door, people just hammer you with the stuff they don't want to do. But it's like you say, the pressure, so it'll be maybe a partner trying to put pressure on you. You need to do this, you need to do that. And then they really didn't like the fact that kind of I would speak back to them. So they used to always wind me up, my associates I was in the same year with, saying I was the king of networking with partners because I was always in the office with them. So they hated the property stuff. I was trying to get that going. They just didn't like it at all. I left an invoice out for an assisted sale that I did once as well, and the director clocked it, and then they just basically tried to get us a disciplinary. So I decided for then I'm going to try and kick on with accounting and finish off while doing the sourcing. Moved to a small independent firm. They were saying that's brilliant, do property and stuff like that. It was brilliant till it wasn't.
When you said do property within accountancy, what did you mean?
So I was trying to get the sourcing going. So in the mornings I'd be right move, kind of contacting agents. So
you wanted your employer to understand that you wanted to have this going on as well?
Yeah, aye. So they don't like that because they're expecting you to maybe do all this hours. So if I'm focused on something else, they're like, well, he doesn't really care about this, and that's what they want. They want you to kind of buy into the values and do all the unpaid overtime and go above and beyond for no thanks really. But I realised quickly when I got down there, I was like, I've made a mistake with this job. I'm going to try and stick it out because it will be good for the CV, sticking out at Big Four. And it's obviously good as well when you speak to investors, because I don't mention my accounting background, but it will come into conversation, and that kind of just gets a bit of pedigree, because a lot of these people,
credibility to them.
Obviously that was hard work as well, you know. I mean, you obviously, how many years studying and stuff like that and getting the qualification?
So I did an HNC, so that's 1 year, HND.
Right.
My degree was 2 years, so my bachelor's, my honours, and then my master's, so 5 years.
5 years.
And I was 22 grand a year starting salary. It went up to 27. I sat and worked it out one day when I was doing the pros and cons, because my missus is proper career driven, and she was like, you're going to mess this up because deals were falling through all the time and stuff like that. Then the budget happened with Liz Truss, and she's like, this property stuff's like, you just need to knuckle down with work. So when I sat and presented it down, I worked it out, and I would have been better getting a job at Asda stacking shelves for the early rate, because you don't get paid for the overtime. So I'd be like, I'll be on 45-50 a year, but I'll be doing 60 hours a week, travel time to client site, weekend work as well. So I done a kind of business plan there, and then when I got a few deals under the belt, I think she was bought into it then.
You don't seem like a guy that obviously has regrets, you know, because you're positive, forward thinking, moving forward with your life. But you know, looking back on that now, do you regret that, or think you should have done something better with your time, like for those 5 years? Or
no, really.
It's learning experiences from it.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like the way I'm now, I'm very hard working just now. I'm working on my own thing. When I was in PwC, I'd just be clock watching all day, and then I'm actually in like my job now, if you can call it that. I don't really see it as one. You're getting to speak to like some cool people. I've been over in Switzerland with a director of a bank over there that's invested in one of my projects and stuff like that. So you're thinking, it's led to that, because if I was still up the road, I maybe just be still using the sources, because that's what I did, and maybe just in a wee bubble, like a wee comfort zone. I had 10 buy-to-lets and just like, I'm happy with that. Whereas when I've went down there, I've opened my eyes up a bit to what's possible in property. I'm just felt like I've wasted that time. I need to make up for lost time, but I've not really wasted that time, because it gave me a really good grounding and understanding.
When did you make that switch then? What year?
April 22 last year. So I've got education, invested myself, and then from that just kind of applied it day to day. So it took me 9 months to get my first deal over the line. I had stuff fall apart. I had a brilliant portfolio of 6 sourced onto a guy with 100,000 followers on Instagram. We had comparables there for 50k plus. He was buying at 40k, and it got downvalued 30%. So I was like close to chucking it then, because that was near the time of the budget. And I just thought, this isn't for me, like nothing's happening. But I'd been putting in these hours every day in the weekends, and obviously your work's giving you rubbish for it. Your obviously missus isn't really seeing the benefit as well. So everybody around you is making you feel like this is kind of
you're wasting time. You're not fucking going anywhere.
How was your missus? Like, how long have you been with your missus?
I've been with her.
Married?
Well, I got engaged a couple of weeks ago, so
congratulations.
Thanks very much. So I need to do some more deals.
How did she look at the property stuff?
I think at the start she just thought like kind of pie in the sky stuff, because it can be quite like that with some people, especially the way it's portrayed. And when she's seen the amount of rejections I was getting and things falling apart, and agents just not taking you serious to start with, because they've got their wee black book already. But she's obviously seen that rejection every day. And she's saying she actually said recently it was very tough to see, but she sees now the benefit, because like she just says,
stuck where you've kept going with.
So you went quite a while then, where you're obviously putting out this money on the education courses and stuff like that, but you weren't really bringing much in. Was that kind of unsettling time then, would you say, where there wasn't really any money coming in? Did you have a wee bit of savings?
Well, I had a pot saved up when I went down to Newcastle, and I had my buy-to-lets, but I had 20-30 grand saved up over the years. And when I went down to Newcastle, things were opening and shutting because of COVID, so I thought, I'm just going to blow this and start working. It's a clean slate. But I had my buy-to-lets, I had serviced accommodation on the go as well, which is netting me kind of about 1,400 a month.
Right.
And then I had my buy-to-lets plugging away, and they were on low rates at the time, plus my wage for my work. So it was all right, but it was just obviously you're putting all this hours in and you're not seeing anything from it, but it doesn't happen straight away unless you get a kind of freak luck incident where maybe something comes right in your lap. It takes time to build their relationships and then folk to take you serious, and then obviously maintain their relationships and then start building new ones. So you'd maybe focus on a few agents, try and break them down. Then once you get in there, just keep their relationships going, be honest with them if you can't shift anything, phone them if stuff goes wrong as well, because I just had one other week where somebody pulled out, so I phoned the agent straight away, but I'd managed to fortunately backfill it. So straight away they're quite happy because I've had that difficult conversation rather than kick it down the line. So I think that's been one of the keys for building relationships for me, is the honesty and communication with agents and vendors, because I'm willing to have the tough conversations as well, because it is, you know what it's like with property.
Never
like,
goes easy, aye.
Oh,
So
never.
as well as being an investor, you're now a full-time property sourcer.
Yep.
Right. So, I mean, what was it about sourcing that, you know, attracted you to that, and did you see an opportunity to build a good sustainable business there? Like, what was the kind of attraction?
Just obviously the lifestyle that some of the sourcers lead, and then I've invested with sourcers up the road, and you see how well they're doing, you just think I want some of that, and it's achievable as well. So I was never interested in DIY a property when I was growing up. My uncle loved it, and you're just looking at it, I was like, I couldn't think any worse than that. But see, now you're actually in the properties and you're turning them round and seeing what you can do, I just get really interested in it. But I feel like that was a sustainable model you could do. So you're able to obviously get good investment properties for buyers and then maintain their relationships with them, so they'll remember you when they go for their next property. And I always say that to investors, I don't want to source you one and then that's you. I want to do 5, 10, 15 with you, and I'm going to do that through kind of giving you solid investments, give you the right advice, help you out when things go wrong as well, because it's not all plain sailing, as you know. There's wee things that pop up in the refurbs. You need to manage tradesmen as well, and they're just a law unto themselves at times. So
So do you offer that service as part of the sourcing then, that you project manage the refurbs as well?
yeah, so I offer project management. So I've got 6 projects active at the moment. I've got one of my own flips in those, and then I've got quite a few due to kick off. So we're wrapping some up now. The way the pipeline's going is we've got stuff wrapping up and then stuff due to start. So 6 active at the moment. I've actually just before this podcast put a best and final in on auction for a property, which will be a flip, by a joint venture with an investor. I've secured one that I managed to get when I was walking my dog. It's worth it's worth 220. I got it for 155. So I'd offered the
You
dog.
got it when you were walking your dog.
Aye. So
How did that conversation go?
it was. The for sale sign kept on going up, and the sold sign kept going, and then every couple of weeks the for sale sign would go back up. So
This is in Newcastle.
Aye, it's on my street I live in. So I was walking the dog and I just saw the vendor. She was like doing some painting, so ran back and put the dog in, because a German Shepherd, he's quite big, something like that. Like, some folk don't really take kindly to him. He's always with me, and I'll say, agents, do you mind dogs? No, they're fine. Then he comes out and you see the change in them.
The fear.
So I put the dog in, ran back down, offered her 170 on the spot. She said no, and I just took her number anyway. And a week and a half later she messaged me just asking if I was still interested, and I says, look, I am, but it'd be 155. I can get now, because like that investor's put into something else. And then she accepted it, and we're in legals just now. We're not far off of that, but that's going to be a really good one. It's about 40 grand refurb, full back to brick, and you're looking at about 250, 260 sales price. So that was from walking my dog and just...
A common thing that I see, because we've done nearly 200 episodes now, interviewed quite a lot of property sourcers, but there's a common thing that I see every time we talk to a successful sourcer is they're good with people.
Yeah.
You're good people skills. You can strike up a conversation just out of the blue like that as well, which brings you opportunities, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
100%. Like, that's the thing as well. Obviously, like, I'm not very corporate. I came here in the Night Tech Fleets tracksuit today.
Status.
Aye, comfort over fashion. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, but I can have, like, my missus the other day heard me on the phone to someone. She's like, "What's that voice all about?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm speaking to a director of a kind of 7-figure turnover company. It's no Sally for Springburn I'm talking to, do you know what I mean?" So you need to change your tone of voice and who you're talking to. So
The chameleon, accordingly,
aye, and I think that helps. Like, and that's from doing the sales days. Because when I worked at the Yellow Pages, they gave you 150 phone numbers a week and said get 2 sales for that.
Oh, jeez.
Do you know what I mean? And maybe 50 of them could be Tesco and stuff.
You said you quite enjoyed sales, so did you?
I do it now, but back then I hated
Aye,
it. But I think I was selling the wrong product.
Right.
And then obviously
Well,
now...
look at that. What's the rejection rate of that 150 Yellow Pages to sell to? Like, that's
a lot of
a
those.
lot of
I was-
rejections. Like,
I was putting a lot of donuts up, man, zeros for months. So it was tough, but you had to get creative even back then, because, like I said, you'd get maybe 50 Tesco's and Morrison's that you can't sell Yellow Page boldface entries or websites to. So you had to get creative and striking relationships up, like you say, speaking to kind of maybe the local sales rep, getting your trades magazines, researching the area. So you have to always think outside the box to try and get there. But I was rubbish at the Yellow Pages stuff, but like looking back now, it's really gave you a good grounding for what you're doing.
give you the skills and experience to use it in a different.
How did you build up 10 buy-to-lets then? Like, Like, where did the money for that come from?
So our first property, I got 30 odd grand from it. Sunk into a couple of wee kind of your 50, 60 grand grunters, I call them. They were cash flowing quite good, like, because one of my mortgages was like 100 quid a month and I was getting 550 rent. And I was just save. On to the next one, save. So like I was just ploughing it all back in,
right.
But I was still working as well. So whatever everything was going in, and that's what I said before it started. I felt like I'd done it back to front because I used all my own money for the first few, and then I managed to refinance get a couple of that. So
it's a good foundation that you've done it right. Your own money. It's not like you've got private investors financing and you're over leveraged. You're sitting there pretty. Your own cash is in your investments.
Aye, well that's it. Like I'm actually selling off some of them just now to fund my deals down the North East. Just feel like there's better opportunity. So
whereabouts are they predominantly around Central Belt? Like around
Airdrie mainly, Coatbridge, Govan, and then like I'm starting to build in the North East. So I've got one going through in Haltwhistle just now, which is on Hadrian's Wall. That'll be an SA. I've potentially got one going through in Birtley, and then I've got ones in all other areas in the North East, so like Washington, Burnmoor, Penshaw, Houghton Spring. I'm just kind of calling deals on right, left and centre now, and it's going well.
Talk to us then about a Scot living in England and the differences that investors are facing at the moment in terms of like, you know, the challenges that we've got up here.
So I think they're loving it down there because obviously the market rents are crazy. So like one of my ones that I bought was an all money out. I left 600 in the deal and I put it up at like 475 rent because the area's a bit ropey. And I got it rented out within 2 days privately without having to even advertise. And there's some stuff that you're just seeing, they're maybe 60, 70k houses. Like I sourced one for an investor. They paid 39,999 for it. It was a 12 grand refurb. It was worth 65 done up. I says to him, you'll get about 500 rent, and they got 575 for a 2-bedroom grunter. And it's like there's nothing spectacular.
A grunter, I love that word. Grunter.
They don't let you down. You need some in your portfolio, man. You're not going to get the capital growth, but you'll get your money out at the
cash flow all the time.
Aye. So I've got like one of the ones I'm selling up the road. I got it for 57 in 2020. 3 years rent at 550. Market rent's about 650 now. I've sold it for 59, so you're not wanting to pay much more.
But what I'm saying is that, you know, like we've talked earlier about, you know, 6%. You know, we've got up here 6% ADS.
Aye.
What's in England?
3%.
3%. So straight away, you know,
easier working your numbers for that. What's the main differences in like the legal system or the way estate agents work or things like that? Is there quite a lot of difference?
So some of the agents I deal with, some of them are very corporate, like your kind of bigger ones. But if you try and just get in with maybe smaller ones or corporate ones with a more local feel, they're really easy to work with. So I try and get mates with them first of all. Do you know what I mean?
Talk to us about that then. Building, you know, that's obviously a key part to your sourcing business. Building relationships, you know, getting agents on board. How can you work that? If somebody's new starting out in sourcing, what are your kind of tips?
So what I do is I go once a week, I walk my dog, and there's 6 estate agents on my street, and I'll just pop in every now and then. Some of them
here's them again.
Well, that's what they're like. I've got this, beat it, we'll email you. But some of them are quite, I think like some of them they've kind of warmed to a wee bit. So there's an agent I've been working on for about a year since I've moved, and I've eventually got my first deal with them, and now they're messaging you and a bit more forthcoming. So I think to build relationships, prove yourself, and I didn't go in with give me all your off market, below market value stuff. That wasn't my in. I said to them, have you got anything that's slow moving? Have you got anything that looks like it's going to fall through, or anything that's like struggling to sell? And there was an agent I actually met in a coffee shop, had my dog and he was a puppy at the time, and he came up and he kind of clapped him, gave me his business card, and I messaged him for about 5 months, and he just kept paying me off. And he eventually gave me 2 properties that he was struggling to sell. It was sat in the market, and I sold it to him. And then from that, he just kind of, they all admit the same thing at the start. I didn't really take it serious because they don't take sourcers serious really until you prove yourself. But then,
especially being Scottish as well. Do you know what I mean? Down there, they're like, who's this guy?
Well, that's what he just said. He's like, he said to me that we're in a chat together with some of the other agents in the agency, and he said like, I said at the time, I've met another sourcer, here we go, basically. But he's actually said to us, like, I don't know what it is you do any different to anybody else, but we've probably done the most with you, like sourcing wise, in the year. So it's good to have agents actually come back and say that. I've got a kind of my Trustpilot, they're all genuine reviews, and some of the agents' reviews there are really good, and I think to get...
So you get estate agents to review you?
Aye.
That's
quite
brilliant,
good. That's quite
isn't
good
it?
trick. I like that.
If you go on my Trustpilot, like they're all genuine reviews. If I've had an interaction with an investor, a letting agent, anything, and a lot of them always say the same thing. Like, you're just honest. Like, if I can't shift something, I'll no do it. I'll no put bids in with no investors, because there's people that do that.
Yeah.
And I think they quite like that, because your whole job as a sourcer is to take the pain away for the agents. So if you're kind of doing that, right, here's this, right, what's the done at value, right, what's this, and they're basically doing your job and you're not justifying your fee, then some of them will ghost you on legals if the buyer pulls, whereas I'll be on the front foot and try and backfill it all the time. So I think they quite like that aspect of it. I'm being
that's dead interesting about you're actually physically walking into the estate agents as well, showing face as well, because that way, you know, it shows that you're making a bit more effort.
Is the market dictating you can get away with that now that it's slowed down a wee bit?
I would say the sub 100k stuff though is flying down. So I was back there, I wanted the news, not the weather. So I would say it's flying under there, because you're always going to have buyers, and I'm getting a lot of people from down south. I've got a couple of people abroad, so I've got a boy from Peru, boy from America, boy from Holland, and it's just cheaper in the northeast, but they're going to see the prices going up because of the levelling up fund, and there's quite a good tech industry in Newcastle and some big companies there as well, so there is loads of opportunity. They're obviously going to spread out for the city centre, and it all of a sudden becomes unaffordable and it just keeps going out. So I think there's loads of opportunities, and the market's pretty hot. Like, a lot of the deals I'm sourcing just now, the last few I've done have been over 100k purchase price. So like, I'm thinking, when I started, I'm like, oh, nobody will ever do that for buy to let and stuff, but there's a market for it, and obviously if you're getting them a 20-30 grand discount as well, you can run it as SAs and buy to lets and flips. There's loads of strategies.
So obviously you're go for it. You're actually one of my good pals, I was round at his house on Saturday night there, he's like, I've been watching your podcast, really good, but you never give the other guy a chance to talk.
Is that why you tried to give me the chance?
So I'm giving you the
chance. I'm going to shut up. This
is my mate Mark, I'm giving you the chance here.
Cheers, Mark, cheers for the help.
He's looking out for you. He's like, you never fucking shut up. So obviously sourcing business model is that you're attracting, and you're basically working on behalf of the investors, the landlords. You're matching them up with the deals. They want to get into buy to let property. How are you finding your investors? How are you finding them? How do you get them?
Well, I just started doing the social media stuff. So in January, I had got that assisted sale through, and it was like 21 grand profit. And I was always like, see, before I'd done the education, you'll go and buy a nice watch or go on holiday, but I'm not paying that. So I invested in a marketing thing for 6 months. It was social media management, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook adverts. So I mean, I only started doing the videos in February.
It's probably how I came across you.
What's it? But if you looked at my earlier videos, it looks like I've got a gun to my head, like behind the phone. I'm like that, I look terrified. And then I think once you actually see stuff off the back of it, because your mates are slagging you at the start, like, you're this, you're that, like, oh, what's the yield on this and all that. And then after a while, they see things starting to come in, and then it changes. You get the confidence, because I like to think I know what I'm talking about. If kind of been in property for 2017, investing wise. And then you're actually going day to day. So a lot of sourcers will promise you the world in a coffee shop, but how many houses do you see them in doing the refurbs and that? Do you know what I mean? So I just post them up to daily in my stories, and then just kind of show that, and a lot of people gravitate to it. My WhatsApp group that I mentioned, I was on holiday in June. I'm obviously like kind of one-man band now, so you're still working in the business while trying to work on it as well. So folk are still asking for deals, so I've directed them into a deals group essentially. So there's 266 people in now, and I've done numerous deals in the group. But the main feedback I get from investors there is you're genuine, you're really genuine. So we're seeing the videos, I'll put videos in now and then, I'll maybe say, right, like, this is a deal that's coming up, like, this is this, and kind of preempting to get a few bites. And you'll maybe speak to kind of 2 or 3 people a day that you've never actually done business with before, but the seed's planted. And I always treat them with kind of respect, and even if they don't buy, like, I'll come back to them, get a criteria off them. And I think I'm quite good in the communication aspect, so I probably speak to about 150 folk a day in WhatsApp on my laptop, constantly speaking and building relationships. I'm doing about 50, 60 phone calls a day, plus I'm doing my stuff as well. So it's fair I kind of wake up to I go to sleep. So I was in the gym this morning at 6. I know I don't look like it, but I was getting flamed on TikTok for my weight. So I was wearing that t-shirt, and someone says I need to remortgage to a bigger tap instead of the house. So
don't worry, we'll get you back here in 6 months, mate, and you'll be like,
hopefully a 50 more deals done and 6 stone down. But I just for that.
The TikTok hate's real, eh? I've only just came onto it recently. I remember you speaking about this ages ago, about the shit you get on fucking TikTok's like so vile, like
it's
constant.
a cesspit, man. It's honestly, and like
Brilliant.
I've sitting arguing back with them, but it gets you more engagement. And then like there was I done an ultra marathon in July with no training, so this wee guy flamed us, and I looked at his profile and he had like a wee souped up Fiesta, so I just put a picture of him ultra marathon up and it says, still got a better engine than your shitey Fiesta, mate.
An ultra marathon?
Aye, so I've done ultras and stuff as well, so I think that's quite good when you speak to investors. They can see you're kind of like, go for it, do you know what I mean? All in. Aye.
That's an achievement, mate.
Is that not what Mark Shannon does as well?
Aye. So how many miles, how many K is that?
55 that one was, but the year before I did 110 along Hadrian's Wall, so I started in Carlisle and finished at Newcastle.
Jesus.
Aye, but I'm carrying too much weight now, so I've started kind of training again. I've told my missus all day I'm going to do another one next year. So
we had Mark Shannon. Mark Shanton's been on the show a couple of times and he's doing one of them.
I'm going.
That's brilliant.
Aye, it's tough though, but like when you're out running, I've got a lot going through my head. You're probably the same. You're kind of all these ideas, and you want to do this and you want to do that, and you're maybe ideas for your group, for example. So you get all this, and I think when you go out a run, it just clears all that, and it's like.
Do you find your health's kind of suffering? Like, so we talked about this quite a lot. You know, when you get that wrapped up in growing your business, it's dead easy to take your eye off the health and that and the fitness. Stuff like that, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because you're just on a mission.
Aye.
So you let that side of things slip a wee bit, or what?
Aye, so I yo-yoed like mad. So last year I weighed in January 1st at 133 kilos, went all the way down to 110, up to 127, down to 109, and I weighed in on New Year's Day this year at 136. And it's just going through emotions. So I know I need to get myself going. I was away up to 145 there, and it was with the TikTok. You're in denial.
You can trigger that with the business.
Aye. So I've just started doing the wee steps. So it's like, right, try to get up early in the mornings, out with the dog, try and incorporate the gym, start getting the running again. And then like this morning I was up at 5:30 in the gym for 6, done my hour, done a good bit of steps before I come here, and then in the last 3-4 weeks I've probably done best business wise, and that's because I've started with the early mornings and stuff. I'm always asleep for about 10 anyway. I sleep quite well, but it's during the day you're out and about. Right, I'll grab a Costa.
You got any kids?
No, I've got a German Shepherd. He's my kid.
You've got no excuse, man.
Aye, he's like my win. So it's a case of just try to build a good routine and stick it. But sometimes you know what it's like. You're just out and about, and a hot lead will come in. Like, the other week one came in, and I just fucking flew out the door, man. My miss like, where you going? Like, cracking up. Fortunately I managed to sell it, so she was quite forgiving, but it's like you say, you're kind of pulled all over the place at times. That can be chaotic, so your diet and your exercise can fall apart for that. But
you just lean on the convenience side more,
Aye. But I think if you make that your kind of main thing, so focus on my steps, my water, stuff like that, I think it actually helps your business because you're clearer. Because you know what it's like when you're in that slot. Obviously you're in good nick, you're in my club.
Cheers, mate. Should have worn that tight t-shirt this morning.
But you know what it's like, how good you feel, and like.
Here, I've got an excuse. Wait a minute. I'm in your club. I've got 3 wins under the age of 10. Plus, I'm nearly 45.
Aye.
You've got no excuse.
Well, that's it. Aye. We'll get there. We'll get going, man. But aye, it's just I think that's kind of a good base if you're looking after. Because the way I was looking at it is as well. People are always judging you, like you're driving, what you're wearing, how you act, how you speak, what you do. So I'm like, if I'm turning up to meet an investor and I'm trying to get a couple of $100,000 and I look terrible, do you know what I mean? No, black. He doesn't even look after his cell. Never mind my money.
You don't put a suit on, do you?
No, tracksuit, tech fleece. I usually wear like a polo and jeans if I'm going to meet someone, but kind of day to day.
My missus always used to get on at me for that, going out the door, scruffy as fuck. I'm like that. She's, how do you expect people are going to buy into you looking like that? You need to take a bit more pride in your appearance and all that.
Agent, mate.
But what was interesting that you were talking about the videos, most people have already bought into you already.
Yep.
So looking at it, following it.
Yeah, you're going into a first meeting and they're not really looking at what you're wearing, but they've been listening to what you've been saying.
Yep.
So you've already sold them. You don't need to sell them on your services.
100%.
Which is the beauty about the videos.
Well, I had a call with a boy on Sunday last week, and he'd already been following me. It took me 10 minutes to do the deal with him because, like you say, he'd already had that following, so you're already bought in. And then I had, like, because of the Trustpilot thing as well, I've got quite a high reviews on it, so I've managed to get a couple of investors for that. So I've managed to get one. It's a boy from Dubai, and he just came across me in Trustpilot, and I've knocked up I've got like a presentation of deals I've actually done and the variation of them, and he was saying that he's quite impressed with that, and he's potentially taking a deal as well. So just need to sort the finance out for him because he's based in Pakistan, I think it is. So it's like 8.5%, but it's just like you say, they're already bought in, so you're putting this stuff out there. You're getting people like you and Dudden shouting you out, and your investors shouting you out. and you're like people like that, maybe your refurb team, your letting agents. So folk are just looking, they'll be like, well, he's out doing it day to day, he's buying his own stuff, like, give him a crack, do you know what I mean?
I love all this marketing stuff and that as well. You were saying that you don't really hold much value in having a big email list.
Nah,
that's not really your thing.
I just think it's obviously you do the mailing list, and then maybe somebody will jump off the back of your deal and put it on their mailing list, and then by the time you spoke to an investor, I've already saw this, so you're thinking they've maybe sorting 2 or 3 lists.
Aye.
Everybody's direct to vendor.
It just devalues the deal,
I
doesn't
think
it?
so. Aye. So I think you want, because I had a couple of my own ones I was selling, and a boy said to me, "Can I put it on my mailing list?" I says, "No, really, to be honest, because if I can't sell them, I'll keep them." Like one of them's £200 a month capital repayment mortgage, so I was like, I'm happy to sit on them, but I think if you start touting them on the list, you know what it's like, and then you get so many tire kickers on it, interested, send details, gives your proof of funds, you're like, well, you're wanting to deal in, like, so
talk about the deal. Sorry, mate.
let them talk, man.
Say something. That's 2 opportunities I've given you now to talk.
I don't even want to fucking speaking to me. Math, I'm resigning. I had a deal that I was selling one of my own ones, and I put it through the list, and I got someone going to buy it, and I was going to be a discount. It's sitting tenant in places. Yeah. One of the ones that I'm just trying to clear away as well, and it fell through, and it was the same thing. It fell through last week. The same thing that I punted back through the list. All it's got to be is we've fucking seen this. There must be something wrong with it.
Yep.
It's like, no, the deal just fell through after 2 months. But if it goes through the list once, never mind twice, people are just like so apprehensive. Oh, it was a good deal. Someone else would have snapped it up.
Aye. The most apprehension I get is it's like, why you no buying it? Because I buy a lot of my deals, so they're like, why you no buying it? And I'm like, because I need to make money as well.
I get that a lot of the stuff we send out.
Aye.
Like, fucking, why you send a deal out? Why are you not buying? I'm like, I can't buy every single fucking thing, can you? But or it might not suit you. Yep. But is that quite an objection you get as well?
Aye, because I call deals on all the time, and then I was talking to my missus the other day, because she's like, fucking, what's going on here? Like, 'cause I said, look, I'm skint now. Like, it's not a skint that I've done my brains in the bookies, I've drank all my money, I've partied that away. Everything's out, aye. And she's like, how can you be skint? You're doing this and this. And I'm like, because I'm feeding the beast kind of thing, compounding.
To the wire,
but she's like, you're going to get me worried here, but it's just like, I know I'm going to get the money in for deals done. You know you're going to get through the month, but it's just like sometimes you're like, oh, I'm 10 grand into here and 7. Just, it's funny money at times, because you're just putting into other stuff. So like my own projects, I'm probably like 500 odd grand across them all. No my money, obviously. I wish it was. It's investor finance, bridging loans and stuff, but I'm quite efficient at, like, for speaking to you and Dudden, I met him at the end of April, and I just decided I'm going to kind of go full tilt with this boy. So had a phone call with him for about an hour, and we kind of got to know each other, because I initially missed his first call, and it was between him and a boy called Michael Lenny. And then Ewan's story went up, and I just phoned him straight away, and then within an hour I literally went home, drove home, sent him all my documents and my first fee up front, and then from then it's just kind of snowballed, because you realise the possibilities for somebody who's a mortgage broker navigating a difficult market just now, and he's actually out leading for the front and doing.
He's doing his own deals, he's doing his own investments. Aye, both the guys are good for that as well.
Aye,
we just spoke to Karen Leslie, it's the MD, Go Financial Services, and he's the same. They're fucking so on the ball, like they're doing the deals, they're out there doing it. That you get them.
By the way, see, every time we mention a name on this podcast, they owe us 20 quid.
Did they?
Aye.
You and Dudden.
60 quid.
Get that check in the post, June.
Aye, but he is really good, and it's obviously, if he's out doing it and he's giving you advice, so you're maybe going to do one purchase here, but you could stretch it across a couple. And like last week I've got 3 cases, like 2 bridging finances for auction purchases, 1 remortgage, but he's showing you the whole day 1 remortgage thing, so I'm thinking I'd rather have my money out in 2 months than do 2 a year, and then you're just lining up your next one.
I have noticed that, that it's great to hear that you can do a business relationship like that. It can benefit both parties, because I've seen you on Instagram tagging each other and stuff like that, and sending me screenshots and messages and all that. So again, that all builds up the trust, and God, they're actually action takers, deal doers. So it's building a story, isn't it? A narrative that people can buy into.
But he did one for me once. I had a terrible day, like a deal had fell through, but I sourced a deal for an investor that was going to bridge, and the automated valuation came in at so high above the purchase price, they basically sent an email to you and saying, how the hell have they got it at this discount? So all these people came in for that story thinking I'm going to get fucking all money out plus cash, and I'm like, it's a one-off, the ones there out there, but I think it was like I'd sourced it 130 grand and the valuation was 200, so they said we need to come out
unicorn.
They says we need to come out and value this, because this isn't right, the disparity. But you do get a lot of, see if you have the genuine interactions, and they're better than any market in their email list, because it's a referral for someone that's actually legitimate in the business and quite well. I think what he's done's mental. Like, I was just going to say there, at 24 he's got how many houses, whereas when I was 24 I'd just been sacked for being a Club 1830 rep. So you're meeting all these people, the young team that are coming up
Club
now.
1830, I've never touched on that yet. There must be a few stories in there from those
there's
days.
a few. I can't obviously keep it. I need to keep it PG. So,
whereabouts is that?
So I was in Cavos my first year, then I was in Ibiza. And then I get moved to Magaluf because I was saying more a holiday in the reps.
Is that when you look like an ultra marathon athlete?
Aye, made hair as well. The fullbacks weren't pushing on then, so I get moved to Magaluf, and then it was during the Euros in 2012.
That was pre-misses, was it?
Pre-misses, aye. Yeah. I get kicked off main bar crawl once with the England-Italy game, and I thought the kind of writing's on the wall here, know what I mean? And then, But
you ended up moving to England, so like,
that's it,
you must have some friends down there.
Well, my brother actually works for a recruitment agency down there, and I'm kind of multinational one now, so for moving down it was quite easy because I knew folk already, and when you move away you need to actually be pals with folk because you've got common interest, and I think that's how you're doing so well, because when you're up the road, man, you know what it's like, you bump into
your old
mates.
school pals that you
mind when we were 15 we had this fight in school, and then you're out to find them talking rubbish with them. It's down there, you're pals with them because you like to play golf. You'll have mates that you'll go and get a coffee and a scran with rather than a pint and whatever else. They
know you're into property, they're into property. You've just got that kind of a new network almost there.
Aye, I think that's a good thing as well, because like they can see there are a lot of sourcers down there that are genuine, and they've got the abundance mindset. So there's one I've been doing loads of deals with. I actually bought one off him when I moved in, and he said to me, like, you're quite resilient, I knew you'd be good. So he's like, I've spent time with you, whereas other sources are closed off. So if folk like that can see you're trying and see the value in you, then they'll help bring you up as well. And I'm doing quite a lot of deals with him just now as well, and they're brilliant. And he actually said to me, he's like, I was going to chuck the sourcing, like I fell out with it, and he says, but you've made me fall back in love with it because of just how on it you are.
Your energy's up there that's bringing them back in.
I don't sit and spend 10 hours doing a pack and here's the amenities and this school's got a good rating. I'll be right out with it, talking to with people, do you know what I mean? He quite likes the speed of it because that's how he operates as well.
Do you think there's maybe like some people overcomplicate things with sourcing? You know, like you're talking about, you don't spend all the hours doing the deal analysis and all that, and you know, it's more about building relationships and stuff like that. But you know, some people, they go into it with this mindset like, oh, the investor's going to want all the money out and all the rest of it. They really don't, do they? There's loads of people out there that just want a good solid 8% gross yield. They don't even need to look at like return on investment figures and net yield and all that. They just want a top line.
Aye, that's it. I think see the whole kind of packaging things up and that. You obviously do at the start and you're trying to build, but you end up spending so much time on that. But like, see, from kind of doing property and knowing the areas and stuff, I can analyse a deal quite quickly now, but that's for doing the reps. It's like going to the gym, you do the reps. So, but I'm quite lucky that I've got a good network of builders, so they'll go and do the viewings for me sometimes, and then I've already got my refurb figure. So that one that I was telling you about for the member of your network, he took a deal on Friday. The lead came in at 9 in the morning. I viewed it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I offered on it at 5 at night. But the builder viewed it with me, so we sent a breakdown of the quote to the investor straight away.
Brilliant.
Imagine I had to sit.
That's fast, eh?
Yeah, well, that's it. And he actually said that. He's like, I can't believe the kind of speed of that, because it was something like 3 deals I'd offered him a day. He'd missed out on 2. He said no to 2, and then the third one, he was actually asking me about putting an offer. I says, wait till we get the builder's quote. He gave a rough quote, like on WhatsApp. I've sent it to him. He's happy with it because the builder's been out and seen it, so it's no guesswork for me. And then he's got an actual written quote at night, so he knows straight away where he stands with the figures. And I've showed him the comparables and showed him this is a house I did down the street, we paid 54 for that. And I think if you can go to an investor and tell him this is actually this, we've did this in this street, you just get more buy-in than going on and doing the comparables and doing a big fancy pack. Do you know what I mean? A deal's a deal. It doesn't need to get packaged up fancy. Do you know what I mean? And if it's a deal, it goes quick usually. Do you know?
Especially when you get the credibility that you're doing it yourself. It's good to say to other investors, say, look, we bought something similar on this street or the next street or the next door. Like it just shows that credibility. You're actually you're drinking your own fucking juice as well. You know what you're doing.
Well, that's it. Actually, that one came from one of my bandit boards on the houses. So I put in "We Buy Houses Fast," big yellow sign. Had a couple of missed calls for the guy, and then I viewed it and we'd offered that day. So it's kind of free market, and I probably got a unicorn with that one because it's not often you hear for that. But that's a deal for my bandit board, and I've had one deal for sticking a handwritten letter through the door. So they do work, but I don't do on the letter drops and that. It's
not the secret sauce.
Nah, I don't think so, man. It's relationships, I would say, with people. And like straight away, I actually had an agent say to me, they went out to view a property and there was another agent out, and they said, I know who will buy this, and he gave my name. He says, Kris Dalziel will buy this. So the other agent went, we've got a buyer, and they went, name them then. And then they went silent, so I got a deal for the agent because he knew that I'd put an offer in on it, and it's completing in the next couple of weeks. So,
but how important is sorry, are you going to finish?
I was just going to say that's from an agent kind of sourcing you a deal, basically saying he'll buy that, and then offering you it, and it's like that's through doing the previous deals in it and showing that you're a serious buyer.
But just going back to your point there about the agent said, I know who'll buy this, Christopher Dalziel. But how important is it to make them aware that full transparency that you're not actually the buyer? Do you know what I mean?
Well, they know
that's where some people trip up in it.
They know I do the sourcing, but I give them a criteria. I'm quite clear on, right, this certain investor will take this, this will take that. So I got that. I had someone looking for something like that day, and got it placed up. But even if not, I'll tell them straight away. I'll probably not be able to shift that, but I'll put an offer in on what will work. But that one, it was worth 75, I think it was, and he's getting it for 64, and it's just it's a grunter.
How do you think sourcing as a business is going to go with the way the market's going and the economy is going? Do you think it's going to be a strong business again?
I don't know, because it's hard now to do it. Obviously, you're seeing a lot of people go up and drop off, so I'm obviously doing it in a tough market now, and when the base rates come down, you'll see everybody, but you see people pop up and drop off because it's tough, man.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to get traction, isn't it?
The amount of rejection you get, and obviously you need to keep your momentum going. So I've got good momentum now, but I want to keep it going and like capitalise on it. Some people maybe rest on their laurels a wee bit, and then the deal flow stops coming. Whereas I'm always looking for the pipeline to be filled up, because it's a sales thing at the end of the day.
Is that the most important part then? The deals coming in, or the investors, or like with investors, do you maybe just concentrate on getting a couple of good ones that want to repeat buy, and then more concentrate on the deal flow then?
So the deal flow is obviously important, because if you've no deals you can't sell any investors, but if I've got a pool of kind of 5 to 10 serious investors there that I know I can put something to, so I'll view it straight away, and I can just message them because I WhatsApp them all the time. Do you know what I mean? And you end up becoming pals with them because you've got the same interest, and then you'll talk about business, and they're further ahead than what you are. So it's like almost getting a free mentorship off some of them. Do you know what I mean? And then you'll say to them, look, man, here's a good deal. Here's this. Do you know what I mean? And they're already kind of got that trust in you. Like I had a call with a guy today. He reached out in LinkedIn in February. Cold, and he bought I think he's bought like 9 or 10 properties now, and he was laughing about it when he met me the other week, because he was like, you Scottish, see you next Tuesday. He's like, I was only planning on 1 or 2 and you've got me kind of spent up. And he was just laughing about it, but he says,
so now he's got 10 grunters.
He's got his grunters all sorted.
So we're talking about the grunters though. Does that not reflect back on you? When, like, do you just, obviously you can't go too low, because they're just going to be headaches for investors, and then they're not going to come back.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So we work with...
You want to know what the sweet spot of the grunter is?
we work with some sources as well, there's been a few that we've taken on the lettings side.
Yeah.
And, they've actually come to me now and said, like, listen, next time I buy a property, I want to put it to you first, because it's just causing headaches, all sorts of headaches, Poor tenants, maintenance issues, buildings not factored, building problems, can't get the mortgage finance, all sorts of stuff. So that's got to be quite important, obviously, not to go, even if it looks like an amazing deal and it fits the criteria, surely you need to have a certain standard as well.
100%. Like, I'll be honest with the investors as well if they're looking for someone. So there's an area I buy in, it's quite rough, and a lot of people stay away from it, but I know there's a lot of landlords buying, doing a good quality refurb, and as a result getting better tenants, but it's just been tarred with that brush, and it's a very localised game, the sourcing, so you don't know the local demographics in some areas. So there's 2 abandoned houses I was working on in Stanley in County Durham. One's been abandoned 15 years, one's been abandoned 8.
Stanley, even the name, it just sounds like
Stanley. So these properties, right, I'd secured it like 17.5 grand for one, 20 another. But the 17.5 grand one, the seller said that, he asked me, he's like, what religion are you, by the way? And I says, Catholic. Didn't think any of it, and he messaged me like a week later, and he's like, I've had the Catholic guilt since we met. He's like, I can't sell you this house. And he was like, basically, like, big gangsters live nearby, and he says you'll get through 5 boilers before you even start in there, because they'll just go in and nick it. So you wouldn't know that if you weren't kind of had relationships locally. Whereas if you're a maybe London investor and somebody's just wanting a quick deal there, they're wanting 3 grand, 4 grand, whatever they charge. They don't care about the after effect for them. So
what do you charge?
Between 3 and 5 grand, I would say. It depends. Like, buy to let ones would be about 3. If there's kind of flip, there was the flip that I got for myself, my builder actually offered to buy it, and I was like, I don't know, man, I want to keep it for myself. And I knew when he was wanting to buy it, I need to get funding for this, so he was offering like 6 on it, but it's all deal dependent. I think if you've got a standard one, you can't go and charge 5 grand for a terrible deal. Do you know what I mean?
What would you be expecting? Like, what do I get if I come to you you know, and I get put on your WhatsApp group,
Yeah.
what am I getting for my $3,000?
You don't pay to get in the WhatsApp group, you just need to show your proof of funds. But if you're paying your $3,000 up front, then I'll be sourcing just for you, because if you've paid it up front and I want to get paid for that, do you know what I mean? So I'll make sure I hit your criteria. So like, we'll set that out in an initial call, find out what your goals are and invest, and I'll tell you if it's realistic or no, because there's people that want to moon on a stick for 20 grand and all money outs, and they just don't exist, them types of deals.
That call
all the time.
gets ended quite quickly, doesn't it?
Aye.
That's
Or they
like-
do, but you'll pay 20 grand for it.
So it's all about kind of defining the expectations at the start, and then telling them if they're being kind of unrealistic or not, and if they're managing their expectations a bit better than but I'll always be upfront with them and I'll tell them the areas I'm mainly in, I'll tell them the areas I'll cover, but I've got a good relationship now across the North East, so I've got like folk all the way over to Middlesbrough and stuff like that, and you're doing a lot with them, and then you get a reputation for being able to move swift. Like the portfolios I was mentioning to you, we've managed to shift a couple of them, and he had them sitting for a while, and then it's just that fresh pair of eyes, like, can we get that in a social housing? That will make it a better deal, because guaranteed rent, you get your voids, maintenance, repairs covered, and it's a more appealing investment to someone than maybe buying in a bit of a hairy area and you're having to deal with issues, do you know what I mean? So I would say just kind of having it's the knowledge as well, do you know what I mean? I'll be honest with you and I'll tell you about certain areas. I'll tell you certain areas to avoid as well, and there is areas that people avoid that I buy in, but I'll tell them why I buy in them as well, and that's just through kind of just, see, sometimes I'll just go out and about and speak to folk in the street and like what's the crack with this and this and this, and then they remember you, do you know what I mean? Especially like big boy with a Scottish accent, so you don't see them.
Obviously going on that refurb side, once you secure it, get the keys and all that, so you pick up the keys, you go and organise any refurb works and that with the builders, and that obviously has to come with an extra cost, does it?
Yeah, so it's 10% of the refurb cost. If it's a 10 grand refurb, £1,000. What I'll do is I'll set a group up with the builder, a WhatsApp group, me, the builder, the investor. We'll set the expectations out, we'll set the timelines, and we'll also set the payments. So that's all agreed prior. Usually do a third. So start off an agreed checkpoint. Once the snagging's done, we'll send regular updates in the group, but I'll also pop up now and then unannounced and send private videos to the investor just to make sure that the lads are up there. But I've got quite a lot of refurbs in the go, and I just quite enjoy the learning and what goes into it when problems arise, how to deal with it. So I think that helps if you're genuinely interested in it.
You've got a couple of teams of builders that are doing it with you.
Aye. So I've got a boy that does all the buy-to-let stuff, and I said to him, you've got that until you basically can't handle the workload, but he seems to be coping well. He's got 4 on the go just now. Then you've got your ones that we use for your flips and stuff like that, but I've got quite a few build teams now. I'd probably say there's kind of 5 that I use regularly, because if you're doing all these projects, you can't just hammer 6 refurbs in one build team. It's just going to cost too much.
You try and outsource that to your guy then who takes away, so you're not having to manage all the different trades, because that becomes a real headache, doesn't it?
So you'll have like a main builder, and then they'll manage the sub ones within, but you'll liaise with them, and just they prefer it if you give them all the trades to manage, because then the plasterer can't blame the electrician because this isn't done right, and they can't blame the joiner, and if you're managing them individually, it actually would end up costing more, because there's always somebody that lets you down, whereas if they've got their own team, there's no excuses for them not turning up. So I think it's better to just have a main builder. You pay a wee bit more on it, but it just takes a lot of headaches away.
Is that somebody you just seen on Instagram, or how did you meet that?
What I do is I go on the residence pages for all the areas I'm in, and whoever gets the most recommendations I'll message, and then go and try and arrange a meeting with them to see what they're about. So I think the residence pages are the best, because there's people that have had work done.
At Facebook?
Aye, so like Wickham, I'd stay in Wickham, I'll go in Wickham residence. Right. I get let down with plasters all week, and one boy had been recommended off 10 people, and you got him in, he turned up and he was doing a good job. So I think they're the best, is the recommendations. And
that's a good tip, actually. That's a really good tip.
Any other good tips for dealing with builders and that for the listeners?
Just be stern with them as well, do you know what I mean? I had like an electrician at the weekend wanting 750 quid next payment off me, so I says, that's fine, you'll do it when you do 750 quid worth of work. And he went and put about 20 quid worth of sockets in, and then like asked for the money, and I was like, you've not done it still, do you know what I mean? So
did that get awkward then? Did he start getting awkward with you?
Aye, so he was sending us a screenshot of his bank, and he's like, look, I'm skinting that, and I says, well, when you do your work then you'll get paid, so because if you pay them up front and then they've not done the work, where's the incentive?
No motivation to do it.
So I think you need to
be firm.
It's
difficult to buckle under pressure.
Aye,
I had that as well. I got a guy to do a bathroom, and he was literally like, he hadn't finished it, but he was wanting full payment. There was just a few bits and pieces.
Aye.
But it was little things. But I was like, see if I pay him, and he will never come back.
Aye.
He will never come back.
I got caught out when I moved in as well, because obviously you're trying to build a network, so you're kissing your frogs before you get your prince, you know what I mean? And I got these two builders on, they were best of mates, and it started off brilliant, but then the two of them fell out with each other mid-refurb, but one of them had a bit of a habit, so loads of copper went missing in the house, and he's like, I don't know how that's happened. I was walking out the back, and there was all these kitchens lying in the back. It wasn't my kitchen, he was trying to get skip runs out of you, and it always amounted to the price of a gram of coke, whatever the extra work was. So I pretty soon obviously cottoned on to him, but I managed to get that sorted. Like, I threatened to sue him essentially, because he said he'd done the work and there was about $4,000 worth of work to do. So I says, look, I'm going to recharge you, and I gave him a deadline. I turned up, it's on my Instagram highlights, you'll go, and I went in at 7 in the morning after the deadline, and the two of them were lying on the floor. They'd been out working all night, but they were all buzzing after it, and I thought, well, I had to threaten to sue you to get you to do that, and then they're asking when's the next refurb, and I'm like, he's a shout, lads, you know what I mean? But it's trial and error, and then seeing now that I had $54,000 tied in that deal, and see just having that experience, knowing you can't pull it out until they've actually got the finger out, I think that teaches you, because if you've dealt with that experience, you can see things coming and kind of prevent it, whereas if it never happened to you before and then you're dealing with an investor's refurb, the
stress and the knock-on effect that has in your business that people wouldn't normally appreciate. Like keeping on top of the builder, making sure it's on fucking time, on budget. If it isn't, what's the effect? I get my money back out, can I sell it, can I exit?
And it's the extra council tax, it's the missed rent and stuff like that as well, because you pay council tax even if your property's empty in England. So you've got all that to factor in. So
you get hit with 200% in England?
It's 100, but you now usually get a relief. Usually you don't get that down there, it's just a...
Well, we sometimes get relief, but we never get... A lot of the councils hit you with 200% as well if it's empty for more than 6 months.
I don't get that though, because you're trying to bring a property standard. If anything,
I get the concept of looking, right, we want to try and put the properties back into circulation. That's what we're fucking doing. So why penalise you for doing it? I get if it's in it for 15 years, go for it, charge them the 200%, like fucking right. But
exactly, you need to incentivise them, do you know what I mean? And if there's no incentive there, then you're not going to do it. But it was a good experience. I'm glad it happened to me, because it teaches you how to deal with it. Whereas if that kind of happened to me and I think everyone's all rosy and everybody, it doesn't happen like that. So I'm glad that you've had that experience with your own money tied in. And sometimes you felt like a school teacher, because the joiner was grassing in the heating engineer and the heating engineer was grassing in the joiner, but no work was ever getting done. I'm like, just do my house please, you know what I mean, we've been paid for. But I think you go through them, you find your good ones, then you just try and hold on to them, give them a lot of work but not too much that overwhelms them. Give them good work to do as well. Like,
how do you find that compromise as well? Because if you find a good one, you always fucking feel like, I've got all this work, and just keep giving it to him because it makes my life easier, because I know I can trust them. But how do you spot the point where they're maybe going to be overwhelmed and the standards are going to slip? Or
so don't try and hammer them with maybe 6 or 7 refurbs. So there's a boy that's got kind of 2 build teams with under him, so we can stage it out. So maybe one week he's doing a rip out in one, the next week the fitter's in doing something, and then you're just timing it. So it's a timing thing in legals, maybe delay that a week and it'll not affect the refurb. Do you know what I mean?
That's a bit of experience on your behalf as well. Like, people starting out may not understand the processes of a refurb and going, during that stage it's a rip out, during this stage it's a fucking first fix, plumbing, electrics. Another joiner could be back in from here, he can be doing the finishing, flooring and kitchen on another one. Just trying to understand that where each trades are required at what point. And as much as it's not your job, you still are responsible for it, because if you let them just go fucking wild, then you're sitting there with refurbs that none of them are getting finished.
100%. And we had issues with plasters, we had quite a few no-shows and stuff, but we managed to get one, and he's got like a team of 7 plasters, so he just went out and sent them out to 4 different houses and hammered them out. So we'll be keeping him on board, do you know what I mean? So it's just things like that as well, and you start to box clever a bit when you're doing more, because you learn, right, I can't do this because it will not work in this. That'll knock it back 2 weeks, that's maybe an extra grand for the investor. But you pick that up along the way if you're just doing it.
What I've realised is as well is you might need to pay a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? To get somebody who's actually going to turn up and reliable and does a decent job. But you've got to take... I started off with the mindset, right, I need to get the investor client the best value possible, which is part of what you do as a service. But that comes at a cost to you ultimately. Do you know what I mean? If you're trying to get the cheapest, best deal, it just causes so much stress.
It's not worth the fee.
And it's just not worth it. So now you just need to pay a little bit more. If the investor's not willing to pay that, then maybe go somewhere else. Do you know what I mean?
I had a boy arguing with me over a £500 on the refurb on the door, and I says, well, you want this end value, so I says, we can knock the refurb off if you want, but just don't moan when you get downvalued. You need to kind of be a bit firm with them, because at the end of the day they're paying for your experience, so if you're just letting them lead the way, do you know what I mean? You need to be a bit firm and be confident in yourself.
And then the investors' clients can be quite hard work as well, because you know, that's part of what you're dealing with and what the game, and they're obviously wanting the best bang for their buck. And they're like, they've done the figures on they're getting a 10% yield, and then it starts eating into the yields. Like that. This is not what I was wanting. This is not what I'm expecting anymore. So.
I think sometimes, but some of them try and drive it down too much, because obviously if I put a deal in the group, it's already a secured price. So we had one recently. It was worth 58.5 in its current condition. We had a comp for it in the street. We'd agreed at 39,999 with a 20 grand refurb. So it's like perfect, man. But the amount you spent, you're in for only £1,000 more. Really, the other one, we worth 85. So it was an all money out basically. Or it works as a flip. And a boy came back and he says, I want to offer 35. And I was like, the price is 39,999. And he's like, well, that's stamp duty avoidance. I went, are you paying stamp under the table? And he's like, no. And I says, well, there you go then. And he's like, let me sleep on it. And thankfully someone else taking it in the meantime. So I said, mate, that's gone now. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to deal with it types of people, because if they're doing that at the start, what's
properties for 30 grand, mate. That's Stanley's cheap on Airdrie.
I'm coming down the North East.
That wasn't even a grunter as well, man. You'll need to change your punchline from I'm going to buy in Aberdeen to buying Stanley.
Buying grunters.
Aye. Buy the grunters, mate. I'll get you sorted out.
But I think you're in a good. We'll need to wrap up soon. But I think you're in a good location there, North East, because this is all I hear about the news. This regeneration, levelling up,
and there's a lot of us that we speak on Scotland as well that are sick of the government's tax, sick of the 6%, and look at North East, but we don't have a contact. Well, now, guys, thanks to Nick, you do have a contact.
North East of England, by the way, not the North East of Scotland.
But
I like to say, obviously investors down.
Bash Aberdeen again.
It's never ending. But these people that are down in London, it's just not working for them anymore. They're all looking up north. Manchester and Liverpool. People that we speak to say that they've already kind of gone. Do you know what I mean? They went a few years in terms of trying to get a decent deal there. It's quite difficult now. So it's
come up to the North East, man. If he's busy if he's only busy in November as well, like me and you and Dudden are putting an event on. There's people coming from Scotland down in the South England as well. So we're just going to talk about how I've kind of built my business for there from scratch, what I did and how you could scale your portfolio. Ewan's going to talk about his experience and how he's rapidly scaled, starting with something stupidly 30 grand to 30 odd properties in 3 years. And we're going to be doing like a showround day as well, so we'll show you Stanley, we'll show you the grunters, and we'll just show you the areas we're investing in and why we're investing in there and where we see the opportunities are. So I think it's going to be a great event. I think, like you say,
what date's the event?
15th of November. It's in the Royal Station Hotel in Newcastle, so it's just next to the train station. But I think it'll be a really good event. We've sold quite a few tickets already as well, which is good. And I've never did something like that before, so it's always about kind of going out your comfort zone. But it was actually Ewan that came up with the idea of it. So for somebody to actually see the value in you to go up and present on stage as well.
Surprised it's not a curry night.
He took me to the Mint Leaf a couple of weeks ago. He ordered a starter for the table. I didn't realise, and I sat eyeing it up for ages because I'd hammered on mine. And then he was like, "That's yours, by the way." And I scoffed it. He says he's never saw him eat so quick. So.
So his invoice is up at about £300 now for the £20 membership.
We'll hear a podcast night at the Mint Leaf. Good South Indian chili chicken.
Keep spreading the word for us as well when you're down there as well.
100%. That's what I mentioned as well. It's quite good to be invited onto something like this because you've earned it a bit more. Do you know what I mean? And obviously Terry Blackburn was just on, who's massive down the North East. So you're kind of there's 20 quid heels, you know. So to be in the company of people like that, they're kind of heavyweights down there. I've not met him. No, he mentors one of my mates who.
Go on, Terry, get along to his event. 14th of November.
That's it, Terry. I'll tell you about day one remortgages because he basically called me a liar about it.
I need to call him out because he had one of his. It must have been his VAs or something like that. You know, like he's obviously got people that VAs that work for him sending out messages on Instagram and all that. So it was like some shitty message, like one of these spam messages.
DM me properly.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, mate, I no bother at all. And then he came back all apologetic. He's like, I'm really sorry, that was my virtual assistant. I'm going to follow you now. So he follows me now. Man.
But he's massive down there. And obviously I followed him and I went down. One of my mates does a mentoring with him. And he's doing really well. But I've never personally met him. I'd probably like to, but I think he's in Wales now or something, isn't he?
Aye, Chester. Chester's. Aye.
No Chesterley Street because that's in office, that's near Stanley. I'll take you there in office.
Chester, I can't remember. Begins with CH. Anyway, Christopher, it's been a pleasure. It's been a good laugh as well.
Thanks very much for joining us. Really
I appreciate it. Cheers for the invite, man.
Thank you very much and all the best to you.
Thanks very much, you too, man.